You hearing this rumor that Katy Perry is going to be on the Apple remix?
Why, God?
And we are back. And I am back with an all-new Keep It. I am Emmy voter, Ira Madison III.
Oh, I've got to be
So
on
let's not forget that.
Yeah, I got to get my P's and
So
Q's
let's not
together.
forget that. Okay.
I'm little old helpless Emmy nominee Louis Cortell, and I need votes to save me. Yes, Ira's back. My mom just texted me. She goes, "Wow, Michelle Collins." It was like the podcast was moving at a whole different speed. My mom was suddenly like Doc Brown in Back to the Future, whipping off her shades and electrified by the speed of Michelle Collins.
She's a fast talker.
Yes. No, she might be the talker of our time.
That's why they had to turn against her on The View. You know, they're like, this is too fast. It's too fast for Joy.
No, that's what I remember from watching her on The View. She was in a way too, not just fast, but like the wit was so subversive in a way that like it didn't even have time to rumble through the conversation. Like it wasn't broad enough, actually, even though she is such a dynamic talker.
Yeah. They prefer something a little bit more primetime, as it were.
Yes. Something that you write down on a cue card, and then there's the pause for the giant laugh, as opposed to I don't even have time to listen to the laugh. Moving on.
Yeah, but Michelle was great. Joel was great. Kate Blanchett was great.
Jesus Christ. Still, I mean, it's painful to know that happened. Also, it was just so weird that happened the moment you left. But, you know, it was the movie Borderlands. So, you know, it was in and out. You know what I'm saying?
It's also, yeah, it's funny. It's not even something that was in the works. It was, I remember seeing it on an email as I'm heading to a plane. And it makes sense because Borderlands, as you said, is a movie that came out, and I'm sure they were like, Kate, please promote this.
Right. Yeah. We'll put you in a little booth, talk for a while. It'll be great. Yeah.
Yeah. But she was fantastic. I love the interview. I hope she has not filed a restraining order against you.
She was worried.
You're still calling her. You're still texting her about Notes on a Scandal.
Right. Yeah. I just want to say, by the way, the amount of people who come up to me and watch the movie Notes on a Scandal because of that interview, like this is my version of like philanthropy. Like I believe I'm helping in a way the universe.
It's so weird to think of that as a blind spot for people because it's such a delicious film. But also it seemed like that was a very hot mainstream film at the time.
Yes, right. But
it
at
wasn't
the same
like some
time,
indie.
It's also just it's the rare two-hander where two esteemed actresses are the leads. There's just not many movies like that, you know.
That's fair, yeah. I mean, we love those. We need more of those, to be honest. So, yeah, shout out to Miss Kate. And Billy was great too. Billy Magnuson. I mean,
he was lovely. Oh my God! Did you know straight people could be lovely? That was completely news to me.
Straight men in theater too. So
yeah, I think of them all as slick sociopaths. What are they doing in our space? You know what I'm saying? But I really enjoyed him.
They're either him or they're dating Ariana Grande.
Dang,
so.
Right. Speaking of legendary actresses, though, we lost one of the grand dames of all time this week, the fabulous and unparalleled Gena Rowlands, best known probably for the movie A Woman Under the Influence, which I actually have layered opinions about this movie. She plays a woman who's like on the brink. She's mentally unwell, and she's in this marriage with Peter Falk. And
under the influence, if you will.
It's right there in the title. To be honest, there's not much to interpret. But it is just a masterclass of the smallest glance translates so magnificently on screen. It's just utterly unsettling the entire time. I've probably said this before, though. John Cassavetes movies, I cannot believe people can sit through this. It's so uncomfortable all the time. There's never a moment of like, oh, I really enjoyed that, or that was heartwarming, or whatever. If you've seen the movie Faces, which is she's also in, Jesus Christ, I can barely look at this movie. But I want to shout out specifically the movie after Woman Under the Influence she was nominated for an Oscar for, Gloria, which is a pretty traditional caper where she's this woman who's a husky dame in New York who gets sort of set up with this kid who's on the run and she has to help him. Fabulous little action movie, has a sensitive ending. She is so good in it, and it is not related to the Laura Branigan movie song of the same name. Yes. Around the same time.
Or the Julianne Moore movie.
Yes, that Gloria. No, wait, that's Gloria Bell.
Yeah. But let me tell you something. If something's named Gloria, it's for the gays.
Yeah, namely my mother. Correct.
I actually figured that, I didn't know that was the specific reason, but I figured Cassavetes' films weren't particularly your bag.
No, I mean, I love how he gave Gena Rowlands so much to do, and also like Opening Night's a really good movie.
I fucking love that movie. I mean, I love a film about a aging dame in the theater and how she's basically destroying her life. You know,
Right.
we saw that with Clouds of Sils Maria.
Oh, which we talked about with the glorious Juliette Binoche, of course.
Yes, that's the movie like that. Obviously, all about Eve. That's one of my favorite kind of genres of films. But I was first introduced to Gena in grad school. I had a professor at NYU, David Rengeli, who was obsessed with the film Minnie and Moskowitz. I think we actually watched it twice in a semester. And that is a film where it really is just sort of like Cassavetes at its finest, at its purest, because it's all about Gena's sort of like interactions with men. Its central thesis is, you know, it's hard being a beautiful woman and finding romance. It opens with this sort of monologue from her about how the movies are lie to you, like they set you up for romance and meet cutes, and that's not really how the world is. And then you see her interacting with different men, like a cab driver, just like a man at a bar, and how they sort of, you know, are awful to her in interactions. And that movie is sort of what set me up for loving Cassavetes' films. And then also, it's funny you say she's most remembered for A Woman Under the Influence, because if you read any magazine like People,
Yes.
they would say The Notebook star, which I feel like is acceptable only because that's also a Cassavetes film. That's her son, Nick Cassavetes, that she had with John.
Yes, though she is, you know, like seventh build or something in that movie. It just feels a little inappropriate that way. And I have to say, Carrie Coon, who obviously we know she's a queen anyway, now on the Gilded Age, but you know, from The Leftovers, etc. I saw her at Steppenwolf in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf playing Honey, so I've long been a fan. She said she
The
made
dancer?
a comment. No, she made a comment on Twitter remarking on how all of these obituaries kept calling her the Notebook actress, and people jumped down her throat about it. And Carrie Coon is very much a cinephile, constantly tweeting about what she sees and stuff. And I just want to take this moment to say, Carrie Coon, thank you for speaking out against the Notebook-assance of this, and also come on, keep it. We need you.
I love Carrie Coon. I feel like I forgot that she just tweets.
Right. No, she's around. She's still married to Tracy Letts. Yeah.
She's just vibing. And talk about power couples. We're going to talk about one of our topics this week is power couples in Hollywood, inspired by Hollywood's favorite couple, America's sweethearts, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. So we're going to get to people like Carrie Coon and Tracy Letts in a bit. But I do want to point out Nick Cassavetes. I need him directing some other films because his filmography is a bit uneven for me. We have The Notebook, Alpha Dog, John Q, My Sister's Keeper.
Wow, these movies have nothing to do with each other. This is some Ang Lee shit. Yeah.
The Other Woman, Cameron Diaz, Leslie Mann, Kate Upton.
Right.
What are we doing here?
Alpha Dog was baffling enough. Wow.
His rom-coms are also sort of like the repudiation of his father's romantic films, too.
Yeah.
Like they're sweet and bubbly and funny and not tragic. The only tragedy is usually the scripts. So
I love when you tap into like Rex Reed territory with the nasty comments.
I was in Ireland for 2 weeks. And I was, walking children in nature and staring at the cliffs of Moher and having moments where I would sit in grass and sort of just like lose track of time for 3 hours. So I've been a bit too peaceful.
Yeah.
It's time to come back. Light up my cigarette.
Yeah, join the cities again. What you're reminding me of right now is Angelica Houston's childhood, told in the memoir, A Story Lately Told.
What else we got going on this week?
Very little. So we'll get into some Blake Lively and what's happening with her and her life and her, I guess, reputation. And namely this one junket interview she did where I guess she's being snotty to an interviewer. But at the same time, I also have layered opinions about that. It's a woman under the influence all over again. We also have on the show today the fabulous Bowen Yang, friend of the show. He's been here before. Another Emmy nominee. I'm actually sick of them being around. I want to meet new people.
And he'll probably win.
Okay, moving on. Look what you... Who do you think's going to beat us?
I know who I'm voting
Alex
for.
Edelman? Who do you think's going to beat us?
You know what? I don't think Alex is going to win.
You don't think so?
No.
Jacqueline Novak's up too. God, we love her. I can't believe she's not been on this show. Love Jacqueline Novak.
Yeah, but we'll chat with Bowen about that, and among other things, being the second person we've had on our podcast fresh off an interview with Chappell Roan.
Who was the other one?
Drew Afwalo.
Oh, of course, that's right. Also, what a lovely interview with Chappell Roan, and Chappell Roan's coming up in my Keep It today, so look forward to that.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to hear your Chappell Roan Keep It about our lovely pop star who does not want to be a pop star.
Yep, that's exactly what's about to come up. Yep.
But speaking of people who want to be pop stars, Lady Gaga has a new song out. We're going to get into that. And also, Tinashe finally dropped her long-awaited EP. It's part of a trilogy of sorts. So I get why she's dropping smaller things. It's not a Ice Spice situation. Correct. Where there are 10 songs that add up to a walk around the block.
Yeah, no, this is 8 songs that are indeed very short. That's smart, though. I think doing 3 EPs in a row is a good way to, because people don't just want one album at a time, then you come back, 3 or 4 years later. It's just not how music works anymore.
So we'll get into all of that when we're back with more Keep It. There's some things that just tell you everything is right in the world, Louis. I'm back in the studio.
Oh, sure.
Emily's back in Paris.
Oh, and can she stay there?
The best show on TV.
Yeah,
okay?
Right.
The best show on TV.
She needs to stay over in Europe the way like Roman Polanski needs to stay over in Europe. You know what I'm saying?
He's in the new season.
What a delight.
And our favorite pop girls are back on the charts. There's Tinashe with her new album, Quantum Baby. I want to know what a quantum baby is.
Yeah, I'm confused. I don't remember it from physics.
And even Lady Gaga is back with a song featuring my king of pop.
Is he?
Bruno Mars. I love that man.
I enjoy him, but it does feel like, I mean, several stand-up jokes have been made about this before. I'll put my own spin on it. It's like if you told Stevie Wonder, go ahead and be as talented as you are, but you can only make music for back-to-school sales commercials at Kohl's. That's it. That's the only thing you're allowed to do.
And black cookouts.
But like, okay, that to me is some credibility. I mean, that's like music people move to.
Yeah. Let's get to that song first.
All right. Now I saw that you love it, don't you?
Love it. I love it. I love it. I don't know what was hitting me. Maybe I was still feeling the emotions from Ireland.
Right.
But it was hitting me. I don't know. Gaga sounds great. Bruno sounds great. My friend Judnick told me that this is the surest sign that Beyonce's third act is probably going to be R&B tinged because Gaga is getting ahead of the curve.
She's like, let me put this out now.
Let me put this out now. I like it. I feel like it's not an indicator of what LG7 will sound like, obviously. Mm-hmm. It sounds like a closing credit song to The Joker.
Yeah. I will
possibly.
Say, if I had to compare it to the rest of her catalog, to me, the song it sounds most like is the Top Gun song. You know, that like just power belting, holding a note, you know.
Yeah. But I don't think it is going to be an end credit song for The Joker 2. I think it's more something that probably came out of that session, a la The Cure, which was originally going to be on A Star Is Born, but then didn't.
Yes, my problem with when Lady Gaga does songs like this, which is I think she's so used to being considered a kooky person, a character, that she considers it a serve to be conventional at times. And I kind of think that's when she loses her artistry a bit, when she's just releasing a generic ballad, but sounding great because she has the talent to sing it. You know, like Hold My Hand from Top Gun is just not one of my favorite songs of hers. It just feels oversung to me. This to me feels slightly oversung, even though their voices sound good together. It's just not a song.
They do sound great together.
It's not a song I feel like I'm going to be revisiting. Like the hook of it doesn't stay with me, and boy does it want to have a hook. It's like hitting you with those notes, like we're like powering up the stairs in the movie Rocky or something. But I also heard that Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga were spotted at Sunset Tower holding hands or some bullshit. Speaking of holding hands.
Well, let's recall her and Bradley Cooper during that cycle, okay? So I think it's probably promo.
Yeah. She loves to get into character, shall we say. I don't know if you've been listening to the quotes about fucking Joker yet.
And let me tell you something. Joaquin Phoenix, first of all, there's Rooney. Rooney's like, you're not touching my man's hand.
The idea of Rooney Mara being sassy is completely out of character, but okay.
And Lady Gaga was probably like, if you don't want to suck a dick on camera, I'm not holding your hands.
All right. Dialogue over. Great.
So Bruno Mars it is.
Yes.
What interested me about this was it was referred to as the debut song between Gaga and Bruno Mars, which makes me think that we're either going to get a joint album from them. Like, Tony's dead. Rest in peace.
Yeah, he will not be coming back. There's no hologram, I assure you.
And we know how much she loves that cheek-to-cheek shit.
Right.
Do you not think she would do a joint album with Bruno / also convince him to do a Vegas residency with her?
Oh, that's interesting. But again, this taps into my fear that Lady Gaga will do her... What if I did a little old-fashioned thing? Like, I'm not that interested in seeing her do a jazz and piano thing, even though, again, she is capable of physically doing it and capable of physically singing it. The core of what Lady Gaga is on that last concert tour, which we talked about on this show, her popping out of whatever, an alien egg, looking to the left and winking. That's what it is. There needs to be some B-movie cred in whatever she does.
But she's this interesting pop star in the sense that she has older fans too, and I think a lot of them love that.
Too true.
They go and see this tour. They give her money. They're used to the crazy Gaga, but now when crazy Gaga pops out, kooky Gaga, the one that's pushing the envelope in fashion and sounds, it's for the gays. Yeah. And then there's this completely other Gaga that is for a different audience, and those audiences rarely cross over. Like, the circle in the middle of that Venn diagram is very small. Yeah. So I think she's able to exist in both worlds, which is really interesting to me.
Yeah. I mean, to me, what this says is we may get something like a CBS Variety Hour out of her and Bruno Mars or something. Doesn't it feel like Lady Gaga is asking for that kind of moment?
Baby, if there's as much cocaine as there was backstage at the Muppets Variety Hour that she gave us,
Rena Morano and Peggy just blowing through the lines.
I would like to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a single for me, but I mean, again, they sound great on it. It could grow on me, whatever.
You know what? Maybe it's because I'm dating someone now and I'm just, feeling in love.
Oh, I see. So you'll just believe anything. Love is a lie, is what you're saying. I'm dating myself with all my references. That's it.
Yeah, and when you're sitting up here at the next reunion with a man, maybe you'll love the song too.
The next reunion with a man. Talking to me like some Ricky Lake audience member.
Being a Real Housewife of Potomac.
Oh, I see. Now the Tinashe album, I will say a little low octane for me. It's like the song for Nasty is probably faster than most of the songs on this album, which surprises me a little bit.
Except for Broke Boys.
There is one song, no Broke Boys. Let me get out my jump rope. I am ready to hit the pavement with that.
You gonna jump rope for Heart?
Yeah. That's cool, right? I'm a 38-year-old white man. She'll love that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that song's a banger.
Yeah.
And it's already Is it I love how there was a period where people were manufacturing songs for TikTok, but now we've crossed into a point where there's already enough people on TikTok who just are looking for new content and things to dance to, and they've already snatched up that song because the beat is infectious. It is a jam.
It almost has that, I basically already said this, a playground chant quality, and yet it's about like not wanting any broke men. Just the lyrics are really funny. It's really irreverent, and it matches the irreverence of the line, somebody match my freak. I mean, you've got to have some wit about you if you're writing a lyric like that. So it was cool to see and hear in that context.
Thank God I got my second Book Advance installment recently, because No Broke Boys might have hit harder earlier this summer.
You're relating to everything, left and right.
It's saying, why do the R&B girls love to hit a broke boy?
Right.
Destiny's Child. Can you pay your bills?
They were mean to broke people. I mean, there's just no way to say it. They are anti-poverty. They even invented the word automobiles. I mean, they said, let's put this in the dictionary, how much I hate this.
TLC, hanging out the side of your best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. You can't take a ride with your friends. You can't say hello to a girl with your compatriot sitting next to you. You're with your friends too.
Right.
Why do women hate male friendship?
Right. No. I mean, it's actually pro-Bechtel test, though. They're like ladies together. That's different. But I think they're just concerned that maybe you live in the front seat of your friend's car. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. That's fair.
At least own a bicycle or something.
Yeah. Don't holler. You're not a scrub if you're hollering from a bicycle. At least not in Amsterdam.
No, if you're hollering from a bicycle, you might be David Byrne or Ed Begley Jr.
Not a city bike, though. Don't holler at me from a city bike.
No.
That's low class. I do really like this song, When I Get You Alone, on the album. That's sort of an up-tempo R&B moment from her. And I like her album Night Ride, Joyride, those albums where she had more of the like a slick R&B song that's not a ballad. It's not too slow, but you can still sort of move to it in the club if it were played, or at like a house party. That's when Tinashe is really in her bag too. So I enjoy this album.
Unfortunately, you triggered me with the words Joyride, which is not on the charts. And Kesha, we are all but ignoring, except in concert where it appears people are like going crazy for her. But I really thought that was going to pop off this summer. I'm feeling really bereft about that.
You know what? Maybe she should have attached it to a reboot of the Joyride movie franchise.
Ding. No, that I said. And also, Lily Sobieski, please rise from the catacombs we put you in. Whatever happened to her?
Remember when you could just go to the movies and see a Lily Sobieski film every summer? Shout out to The Glass House.
Please. Which, by the way, I always think about that movie because, first of all, why are they in a glass house? Second of all, why are the people, like, who's she staying with in that movie? Like, friends of friends or something?
Her parents die at a car crash or something mysteriously, and she moves in with her parents' friends.
Yes. They are so fucking nasty to her immediately. It's like, well, now I suspect something is wrong with this house because you're being such fucking cunts. So you could have, if you were more furtive, I wouldn't have been onto you.
Okay, if you're in a glass house, do not immediately throw stones.
Yeah,
wait until the second act.
Right. If you live in the house, especially. Yeah, right. No kidding.
Any dead bitches you're listening to, Louis?
Actually, well, no, I'm actually wearing a Bjork shirt this week. I've been really getting into Sugar Cubes, which is Bjork's band from before she was a solo phenomena or whatever. I think people forget that Bjork, for a time, first of all, always sounded the same. Her vocal style has always been a light shriek, a light holler, this little girl's in danger sort of sound. And yet, there was a time when we just paired that with guitar and drums. Like, it sounded like normal radio-friendly music. Her song Hit, her song Birthday, these are fantastic songs. I guarantee you will play them a second time when you hear them both. So if you don't know Hit especially, awesome song.
I'm sure you've been listening to Karen Carpenter because the documentary that you're in is out.
Yes, which, by the way, it is shocking that I'm in this documentary. I happen to know the writer of the book this is based on, Randy Schmidt, who wrote the book Little Girl Blue about the Carpenters, about Karen Carpenter. And I'm in this documentary with people who knew about Karen Carpenter, including the late Olivia Newton-John, including Carol Burnett. Belinda Carlisle's in it. Carney Wilson's in it. It's a fabulous, Kirsten Chenoweth's in it. Lots of people who are fans and friends of hers just talking about what a singular talent she was, how she's like a haunting, weird medium. Like she has no peers. And even though her music was sort of classically adult contemporary, Karen Carpenter obviously has no peers. I don't have to tell Keep It listeners. You've heard this from me before. But anyway, I'm in it. And so is the great Karen Tongson, who I used to do the podcast Pop Rocket with. She wrote a fabulous little book called Why Karen Carpenter Matters. And boy, does she fucking nail it. Love that book.
That is always a weird experience when you're a talking head in a documentary and then you see it later. And you're like,
right, I'm like,
who
what
else is in this?
Yeah. No, because I had no idea how, I don't want to say legit it was, but like getting like Olivia Newton-John, who was extremely good friends with Karen Carpenter, is mind-blowing.
Well, that was like me when I popped up in the Bratz documentary that I shot 2 years ago, getting a random email from Andrew McCarthy, and then I shot it at my friend's apartment in Chelsea. Don't hear about it until it premieres, and all of a sudden it's, this is what the documentary is also about. I did not know the thrust of the documentary was him confronting the original writer of the Brat Pack article. So that was also fun to see at the end product. And speaking of talking heads, I was trying to rewatch I Love the 90s.
Oh, is that around? Where'd you find it?
They have them all on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And it was not enjoyable to watch.
Get out. What was the problem?
The problem is the talking heads. Like, everyone is trying so hard to be funny in every single talking head that it comes off a little annoying now in a way that maybe it didn't in the mid-2000s when we were first watching them, because that's sort of how everyone was in talking heads, and like that's just sort of the vibe of comedy at that time. But I don't know, like I was like, Hal Sparks, shut the fuck up.
Well, by that time he had probably done like 80 iterations of I Love the 80s or whatever, so he was probably, it was becoming shtick at that point. But also, secondly, sometimes the way they would break down sound bites on that show, like whatever, they would introduce a topic like the Macarena, and then you just hear somebody go, the Macarena, gotta love it, or whatever, just like a board. Like that's not commentary at all. It's not like you're getting an actual essay-like take on the Macarena. Eventually, 6 interview segments in, you might hear one actual joke about the Macarena, but it's really chopped up to pieces, the sound bites on those. If you haven't seen the I Love the 80s or I Love the 90s shows, Ira and I basically live waiting for the phone call where we get to do I Love the 2010s or I Love the 2000s, where they break down phenomenons from each year of the decade, and you know, people like us who sit around talking about this shit anyway get to talk about them.
Maybe we'll just do it ourselves.
Yeah. Do I have to just engineer that? I'm pretending like there's some like
we have a
wild
YouTube
overhead
channel
in order to put this together. You need a camera and one opinion about whatever 2010s. The Descendants. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments, the YouTube comments. Do you want the 2010s? Do you want the 2000s? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Where do you want us to start? And also, yeah, we won't be as annoying as boiling down Sinead O'Connor's Nothing Compares to You as this bald bitch who needs to lighten up.
Oh, right. Did they say that in the show?
Yes!
Oh, my God.
And
needs to lighten up.
And there's a lot of, it's obviously appropriate to the time, but man, I have never heard the word whore or hooker so many times when people were discussing Pretty Woman. And it was like I was watching The Sopranos.
First of all, I do have to say, whore, great comedy word. Hooker, great comedy word. I wrote a joke for RuPaul's guest hosting Kimmel this week, and he said the joke. I think he ended up changing the wording, and he goes, drag is a magnificent art form. It says, I am who I am, and I'm also a complete whore named Cookie. Whore. You know what I mean? It's like it couldn't be any other word. Like tramp doesn't fit there. A complete whore, you know.
Slattern.
Great word. Very, it feels like Jane Austen might use that word or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think we just decided that we're going to do I Love the 2010s ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, and then we can cast it too. That'll be nice. Like the people we want to hear. The Michelle Collinses of the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Before someone makes a bad podcast out of it.
Ding, ding. Yes, let's do it.
Last girl I want to bring up who has a great album out. It's been out for weeks. Are you familiar with Clairo?
The name keeps coming up, but no.
Yes. Obviously, if you're a very online person, you saw the tweets about a lesbian-themed Clairo party this weekend in Brooklyn, where a quote-unquote twink who doesn't identify as a twink fell through a skylight and ruined the party.
Oh. Did he land with I picture him landing the way a diver lands in the water, just like a bink,
Yes, yeah. The party was over. The DJ put their playlist up and revealed that they were so locked in that they played at least 2 or 3 more songs after the skylight incident. They also had no Broke Boys on the playlist, by the way. Yeah, but there was a cape that said Clairo Shade, which, to get into this, there's this whole internet meme about, leaving Clairo out of things as Clairo Shade. Particularly Clairo not being on Obama's music list this year.
We're expecting Obama to be that clued in? I mean, let's be
well,
serious.
I mean, we know he doesn't write them himself. And he had Charlie XCX on there. The girls were also bet that Chappell Roan wasn't on there.
That does surprise me. My friend Elise, who listens to this podcast, said about Chappell Roan that a key thing about why she's a phenomenon right now is she's bringing a lot of people into pop who aren't interested in pop music in general, which is kind of like a new demo for, this area. Mostly if, like Sabrina Carpenter is not bringing new people to pop. These are pre-existing pop fans, for example.
Which makes sense because I would say the best song on her album is maybe her poppiest song, and it's not one of the 7 songs that is currently charting on the Billboard Hot 100, and I would say it's Super Graphic Ultra Modern Girl.
My favorite is Red Wine Supernova, I think.
That too, but I think Super Ultra Modern is sort of giving you Madonna-like American Life vibes.
The best Madonna vibes, just ask anybody.
Your favorite rapper?
Yes, rapper/actress Madonna, now and forever.
Yeah. The thing I will say about Clairo that's very interesting to me is she is the kind of artist who has worked with 3 different major producers for each album. And so there's sort of a different vibe to each album. The first album, she worked heavily with Rostam. And so the album is sort of giving that. And then the second album, which I do not love, is produced by Jack Antonoff.
Your Enemy. Yes, I remember the name.
And then the most recent album, she works heavily with Leon Michaels, who was a member of Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings.
Love that band. Yes.
Yeah. R.I.P. Sharon.
Yes.
Fucking icon. So this album is very sort of those kind of like sultry 70s-ish sort of vibes, a lot of horns. Honestly, on this one song, Juno, she's sounding like a white Solange.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that was doable, but okay. Yeah.
But it's sort of like that kind of vibe. Very chill, laxing, sexy music. That's sort of hearkening back to that sort of like late 70s, early 80s FM rock vibe.
I will tie this up by saying that I was recently in the gym, walked into the locker room, and Losing You by Solange played. Now, that was never a song that was, Kiss FM radio, really. Like, you would have to have passed it around with your friends or found it through whatever, Pitchfork or something. That is an all-time song. I mean, something about the mid-tempo quality of it, like it has a melancholy in it. It has sexuality. It has she really captured something with that song. And I know that's like if you know a Solange song, that's the one you know. But still, underrated still.
Yeah, so I think that you would actually enjoy Charm, Clairo's most recent album.
I need to get on
came
that,
out
yes.
in July. Yeah, it's the sort of music that fits in the Ira and Louis Venn diagram.
Oh, good. Which does exist. If somebody wants to actually draw that up too, please put that in the comments. Yeah.
You know somebody well.
Yeah, right.
It is impossible to listen to this podcast without knowing and adoring this week's guest from his Emmy-nominated work on SNL multiple times, Louis, and I know you're bringing up that Emmy soon. To being
I'll have my moment.
Yes.
To being one half of Las Culturistas, to his upcoming turn in Wicked. He's everywhere, and we love to see it. Please welcome back to Keep It, Bowen Yang.
Hi, I'm not on the poster for Wicked, so that means I might as well not be in it.
Oh my God.
Just kidding. What a thrill. What a thrill to be on it. Yeah, I know. No, John M. Chu, I'm just kidding. I'm honored. Thank you for including me in the movie. Hi.
Bowen, I'll just start with this since you've already brought up Wicked. I mean, you've been in movies before, but it feels like making a movie like this must be an unreal saga. Like, just a long time coming, like the pre-production to actually filming it, the preparation to film it, whatever. I mean, does it feel like an entire era of your life, if you will? I mean, like, how much of your life goes into this movie?
I missed a Thanksgiving for it, so I think like that's my favorite holiday. So I feel like I've already made huge personal sacrifices, and so yes, it has occupied a big swath of time for me. But I mean, it still doesn't feel real until it comes out, until people like see it. I don't think it still feels like a very sequestered thing that like maybe never even happened.
I mean, you talked in your recent interview with Chappell Roan, and we'll get to that too, about like these 4 a.m. shoots, blaring her music, going to the set. Like, what was it even like? Where did you shoot, by the way? And like, were you there with a large chunk of the cast all the time, or were there only some people that you really got a chance to be like close with?
We were shooting at all of these like, could you call them like satellite parts of the countryside in around London? Like they were just like really, they were just at all these different studios. I mean, they planted like 4 million tulips for Munchkin Land. It was, which I was not a part of, but like, it got crazy. Like the production designers who like worked on like Harry Potter and Star Wars and everything, like did this, and like we got into the Shiz set and they were like, this is like Ben-Hur level. We've never done anything at this scale ever. This is incredible. It remarkably felt like a really neat, like tight-knit cast. Like we were all like, the thing is, no one's bigger than Oz. Like no one was bigger than the project. No one had a big ego about it. Like everyone just kind of literally hung out. And I know that sounds so boring to say, but we all just like talked about Chappell Roan. We talked about like, we sang like Flo song. We sang Cardboard Box by Flo like between takes. Like it was just like it was
song.
Like it was like hearing Ari sing Padam Padam when Padam Padam was happening was like in her Glinda costume. I was like, what's happening? Like it just none of it made sense. It was crazy. I'm still in process with it, you know.
Also, I can just picture her singing Padam Padam. I know exactly what it looked like. I know exactly the choices she made while singing Padam Padam.
And that's on her sort of vocal quality being so unique and her own.
Also, something about Padam Padam, like you want to have a wand as you sing it almost. Padam Padam.
Whoa, yeah. Kylie should.
There's some light magic.
Let's go back. There's some light magic. Kylie should go back and do it with a wand next time.
Yes, certainly. Okay, now we just mentioned this also. You are an Emmy nominee. This is your third nomination for SNL?
Third. Yeah, third.
Third. So you've been to the Emmys a couple of times. In fact, I ran into you at some Emmy party once upon a time when I was working backstage with Guillermo on something, I believe. But how do the going to the Emmys? You go to all sorts of rad events. Do you look forward to it? Does it get repetitive? What do you look forward to when you go?
Can we all relate to this as gay men? I need to like do a mirror session where I am just like trying to remember the exact muscle contortions around a smile that doesn't look insane.
Oh God, that is my entire life. Yes, yeah.
Why don't we teach gay children a class? Or just children, a class on just how to smile in photos. It's actually a big part of life, I would say.
No, I look at soccer photos when I was like in youth soccer when I was in second or third grade, and it's full Joker rictus every time I'm smiling at the camera. Like, how did I make this decision? Where did I see that smile? Yeah.
And not everyone is good at the Vicky Beckham thing either. There's a period where you're gay and you're like, oh, I'm going to try the not smiling. And then you see photos of yourself and you look angry.
I'm going to say that Vicky Beckham is actually a good spot on the dial because I'm dialing back to her just above the nose. I need to keep my eyes. I need to keep my eyes and my brows still. Remember that TikTok that went around saying your model face is like you raising your eyebrows all the way up? I think most people look insane when they do that.
Oh my God, no! I like downright hair raising. No, absolutely not.
No, I think that was a prank. I think that was like a person lying to us. But no, I've learned to just keep this still, and then just I don't know, and then a little smile, a little thing here. That's my main thought around the Emmys. Around the Emmys, my main thought is, oh, I have to relearn how to like pose on these carpets, which make no sense at all. I don't care what anyone says. Red carpets make no sense spatially, conceptually.
What do you do with your hands on a red carpet? Like, you're taking the picture. Where are your hands?
I'm going to say, I think it's best to just do to the side, just let them hang. I've tried the thing where you have one on one of the buttons, on one of the, but I think even that looks kind of, if you don't like ankle your elbow a certain way, it still looks kind of crazy. I still don't know. What do you guys do?
No, I was gonna say I feel like most options make me feel like Mr. Peanut. Like I'm like everything. Like, I'm doing a jaunty thing now. You know, like, I'm a wise old intellectual, and I'm ready to go to the award. Yeah.
I love a hand in the pocket. A hand in the pocket is nice, and straight men, I realized they get away with because they're usually wearing like watches. And if you're wearing a nice watch, they usually do the thing where the hands are out like this and they're displaying the watch, sort of like with women do with like a purse or something.
Right.
It's an easy way to just like your hand is like that because you're displaying the fashion for the carpet.
I think gay men should start wearing watches. I think
it does feel like we need. It feels like we need to find a particular zone of watch that makes sense to us, though. That doesn't just feel like we're ripping off straight universe. You know,
there isn't. Yeah, there's no like. There has to be some market for like.
Well, the hair from Alice in Wonderland is definitely gay, and he's got that watch.
That's true.
The hair. Oh yes. But is he? But that's like a little pocket thing,
That's
right?
That's true. But you could pull it out maybe and display something. I don't know.
Cunty, wait a minute. That's the answer.
Right. Your vibe has to be hypnotist, like a dangling clock situation. But it is cunty and gay. Yeah.
It's cunty. It's like almost loops to Flavor Flav territory. But like, I don't know. I think a dangling watch could be key.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I hope you work out that neurosis before this award show. By the way, I will be there with you. We can exchange notes beforehand.
Perfect.
This is a question I just thought of because I was thinking of one time John Milheiser gave a quote about how when he was on SNL for one season, and he said afterwards, he's like, I'm a funny person, a comedian. That was like the year I felt the least funny of my life. Like it just didn't end up working out for him.
Yep.
And I was wondering, when do you feel funniest? When in your life do you feel like you're the most like comically vibing?
I am going to say something that I think you'll both appreciate. And I'm not just pandering to you both. I think it is like during a Quiplash round. With like with the girls.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks when someone's new to the group and they're just like trying to like suss out like the tonal things that like are specific to this group of people. But like, if you're of the group, there's no better feeling. There's just no better feeling, right?
Yeah, because like it's a game that gives you a prompt, so it's not even like you're sort of having to contrive a construct in which to deliver comedy or something.
Yes.
It's just like, what would this bitch's kid be named? And then you get to come up with a sassy word. I truly don't know what we did with like social hangouts before Jackbox. I mean, it's like a part of how I communicate with my friends now.
Right. Beautiful. It is. The delivery system of the jokes is just there for you. It's on your phone, so no one has to like behaviorally change anything about what they would rather be doing if they were alone. Like you're going to be on your phone anyway. Like it's great.
Right. Yes, that's a good point. Like, yeah, you can still like, oh, I already typed in my prompt. Back to Grindr. Okay,
exactly.
And I'm back. You know,
it's great, lovely, seamless, frictionless experience.
I find it weird, like speaking of even games like that, I remember watching old episodes of Will and Grace and when they'd be playing their charades, etc. And it's just funny how when you're a kid, you see media or whatever about people hanging out and you think it's just, you get the teen parties, you get other things, and playing games just seems like this thing that you're never going to do. Meanwhile, anytime I hang out with friends now, everyone is always playing a game, and to the point, like when you make games for your friends, like I made a game of traders once for a friend's birthday when we went upstate in New York, and people were so excited that I did that because they brought up the fact that, do you know how many gays are just like, let's go up to the Hamptons for the weekend, or let's go to the Fire Island house, and there are no games, and you're just sitting around doing nothing.
Right. No, games fill up, like, particularly at like the 6 o'clock hour or something. You know, it just fills that, like, lubricates that moment from day to evening, you know?
Yep. Because there's just nothing worse than that, even if it's like 2 seconds long, that pregnant silence of being in like a group house situation on vacation, and everyone's just like, so, like, what do we do now? Like, it's that Azalea meme. It's like, what next? Like, it's so mortifying, and like, why there's such a lethal, perilous like feel to it. Like, we can't, like, as gay men, or as in any social situation, like, we just have to avoid that moment for some reason.
Also, particularly when you're in like a group house or something, I personally feel that one of the few traits that really bonds gay men specifically is an intolerance for monotony, namely in social situations. You know, like if you're going out, like that's why Fire Island always is occurring at like 500 miles an hour. You know, it's just what's next, what's next, what's next. And so when you get those moments, these Kafka-esque silent house moments, it's like anathema to the reason you're there. You know,
totally. And what I think we are not ready to talk about, maybe the three of us are, is there is also nothing more sort of perilous than group gathering around YouTube sort of situation, and like, what's next? Who has the remote? Who's curating this? Like, and there are so many opportunities for that silence, for that anathema silence to happen in that scenario too, where it's like, okay, what should we watch now? A Kylie Minogue video, like that's mortifying.
Right? No, because the vibe is a hot potato. It can go
Yes.
It can go sideways, overboard. Nothing can happen. It can dissipate. People just leave. Wait, why is he leaving? Now, can we get this back? You know? Yeah.
Ooh.
But I think it's choice. There's too much choice, because I remember I used to love a YouTube pregame or YouTube afters,
I still
and now
do.
you've gotten to the point where some people just sort of think like, oh, I need to play this, or you get that with Spotify now, right, too, where it's like, oh, someone wants to be on the aux, or can you create a jam? And it's like, I think we were a lot better when people didn't have extra choices, because now too many people want to participate. I think there needs to be a thing on YouTube where I've been trying to get into like the YouTube playlists a bit more, because I actually feel like sometimes you'll be in an afters and you see people playing songs in a row, and you're like, oh, I like this song. I wish I just remembered this exact function. So I've been trying to save things more to a queue when you sort of just let it play.
Wow, this is an untapped thing for sure. Like, just make the YouTube pregame or afters playlist and then just set it, forget it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, do you know what? I mean, one of the great places in the U.S. for gay people has to be Quad's Broadway Bar in Palm Springs, where they now I think have updated their playlist, but it used to be a straight up VHS of clips from like whatever Grease and Best Little Whorehouse in Texas and stuff, and like just straight clip after clip after clip, and you're screaming, and half the people know the words, half the people are drunk.
Yeah.
For some reason, that bar just can't be beat. Like, you have to stop there when you're in Palm Springs.
Of course, but maybe that's the answer. Maybe this is the answer. Is just anything linear format. Like, it should be a VHS. It should be a vinyl if it's going to be music. Like, it should be something that you would need to like pick up the needle, flip it, or open up another sleeve, like do a new like record. Like, there should be friction if you want to change the course of whatever's been presented to you or created for you. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah,
certainly.
That's why we need more of the girls, and shout out to you, Beyonce. More of the girls releasing their like tours and videos, because there's nothing more fun than putting on. Lately, like, you'll put on Beachella, or you'll put on Charlie's Boiler Room set. You know,
right.
You love to throw something on where it is at least an hour or so
Yep.
long. Super Bowl halftime
Yep.
shows are fun, but they're too short.
Yeah,
15
they are.
minutes, yeah, too short. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Beyonce, but also like call to action to Beyonce as well
Yes.
for a Renaissance movie.
Yeah.
Not even the visuals, just give us the movie because it's already
The
there.
movie.
We've already
That's
seen
nasty.
it. Nasty.
We've seen it in theaters, and now it's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, this vaulting sort of situation is tough on us as gay men.
No, that was supposed to be like Prince's thing, and we just accepted that Prince was like an alien who did things like this. Now people like her, who we love and act like human beings, are doing it too.
Right. Damn it. But whatever.
Bowen, is there anything particularly unusual you like to see on a YouTube pregame, like if that speaks to
Yes.
your vibe?
Yeah. It's unusual to me, but I'm sure you guys will. Just because we're all friends, we share a sensibility. I think I would love it if anyone at any YouTube pregame would play, or afters would play, Tracy Ullman doing Helen Mirren, or Tracy Ullman doing like Renee Zellweger, or like any Tracy Ullman impression. And there's many to choose from.
Also, please, interviews where I don't know if she's she's really good friends with Meryl Streep, right?
Yes,
I love when
yes.
those two queens are queening out together. That's such a good vibe,
Her presenting Meryl the AFI thing, is incredible. So funny.
AFI speeches in general underrated. Whatever,
Very underrated.
Meryl standing at the mic and talking about Jane Fonda and be like, "It's something about that blue-eyed stare," like talking about her like she's a wolf. Yeah.
But I think a Tracy Ullman thing is like something. It will draw a crowd. People will be like, "What are you guys watching?" Oh my god, I'm like, and then people start laughing. Like it is pretty foolproof. I think.
Yeah. She's one of those people that probably has secretly like 20 Emmys, like an Alfre Woodard.
Right.
Like you go to Wikipedia and bring a lunch. Yeah.
She's the white British Alfre. Wait, what about you guys? What are your ideal YouTube things at a party?
I like a mix of everything. As a trivia person, I
Yes.
like to be within the moment we're in, like put on the Houdini by Dua Lipa, but I do want to see Leslie Ann Warren and Victor Victoria. I want to see, and I want it to all mix seamlessly, and I don't want people to call things random because it's not random. I'm
not
watching all this
random.
stuff and thinking of all this shit,
Totally. Mm-hmm. What about you, Ira?
I feel like I like to watch, something that's like Sondheim is related. Like I love to put on like The Company.
Yeah.
The one that was with Neil Patrick Harris was in that one.
Yeah, and Stephen Colbert randomly. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Those are always fun. I always sort of like old Cribs episodes too.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Underrated.
good.
Are they available?
Yeah, like the Mariah's is up there. Something like that. And I recently started mixing in. It was sort of jarring at first to some of the girls, but I put on like old episodes from YouTube of Next and like Room Raiders.
Yeah,
The gay
yeah.
ones, though.
Room Raiders. Was there gay Room Raiders?
There were gay Room Raiders. They had gay
Wow.
episodes of all of those things. And the gays,
I know about the gay Next episodes.
Yeah. The gays and Date My Mom. Also.
Right.
The gays on these shows were
Chaos.
No one has done like over the top performing more than anyone on these shows. When people say that like Housewives or something is scripted, the people coming in talking about their moms, the one-liners they would throw off, that was peak like MTV writers' room comedy.
Yeah, it reminds me of. They would have to be so broad and so loud. It was like they were doing it for people learning English. Like that's like screaming. And I can just picture the spangled belts on all these gay guys. Like that kind of gene at that time, the mid 2000s.
Yeah. That was when Pandora's Box had just been opened on reality TV, and like the rules weren't really set. Like you could literally do anything, and now I feel like now the general rule is like, oh well, the Brits are ahead of us always, but we'll get it eventually, and there doesn't feel like there's anything new or like I don't know that risky on TV. I mean that's a lie. That's not true.
I feel like you were also introduced to people who, right now, we're savvy enough to at least know how you're going to be perceived on TV in a way, right? And I still feel like those eras have people who come on and you're completely crazy, and you're not even gauging how you're going to look later when people at home are watching it. Like the people who are just very, they're maybe, and then you think about them, like they're probably the loudest person in their small neighborhood in Arkansas or something, and maybe everyone else in that town is sort of like, well, Angela's crazy. And so, of course, she's on this show. She's found an outlet for it. But it's just funny to think all around the country there are people who their calling in life is sort of just to be on a one-off show like this to sort of show their exuberance.
Were most people from... I always got the impression that most people on those shows were from LA. Like we're just local.
That has to be the case because ain't nobody booking travel for these people. Nobody's putting them up in a DoubleTree. Yeah, you make it when you make it. Yeah.
And the funny thing about the booking travel, I think someone brought this up in an interview. Not an interview. Someone brought it up on a Reddit of Next, and they said that it was always stupid.
Deep diving. Too deep a dive.
Deep lore for Next. They said it was always dumb to not take the money if you're on Next because of the travel and booking that MTV does or whatever. As soon as it's over, you're never seeing these people again.
Never.
Right.
No.
Because some of them were from like different cities or whatever. It's like you match with this guy at the end of the episode. You're not going to go on a date.
I'm not meeting him in Thousand Oaks or wherever he lives. Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Always take the money.
Yes.
You booted, I see.
We have to get back to the Chappell Roan interview, though. Before we forget. First of all,
it was so good.
Lovely, such a lovely conversation.
Thanks, guys.
But it also feels like you actually bonded with this person. What are your senses of Chappell Roan as a person?
I think she is processing all of the, like I can't fucking imagine what her life is like right now, or like how she is benchmarking it from what it was like a year ago. Like she is a very whatever. I've never said this phrase until this week, but like she must be protected at all costs. Like, I've never felt this way about someone more than Chappell, but we really do have to protect her, and she I think she's just like going through it in her own way, and she's being very like, you know, when someone like Chappell Roan is like being very emotionally raw on stage, it reads different to me than like when someone like Grimes, let's say, is like having a breakdown. There's like there's like a Fiona Apple-esque quality to it too, where it's just like everyone's just like rooting for this like really artistically, I don't know, like tapped in person. And what am I saying? Am I saying anything? I feel like
it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense because she brought up, you know, like Brooklyn Pride, you know, like wearing a wig, and we talked about this a bit earlier in the episode. But the thing about her becoming fastly famous and so mega famous in 7 months is a lot of stars on their way to fame and mega fame, like Beyoncé, like Taylor, like Gaga, there were periods where they could at least still go to a restaurant and maybe a fan would bother them, but there's not droves of people turning around for them. And it's like, you could still go to a Ty Sunderland party, you know? She could not. She literally could not, unless like Julius is with her, you know? And maybe some snipers. She lost so quickly this ability to sort of exist in the world without needing intense protection. And it's also weird because, you know, she booked out so much stuff in advance. So she also has, I feel like part of that is related to why all her people are showing up to concerts in droves too, because things were booked out in advance. She didn't expect to blow up so quickly. And so there aren't new venues. There aren't new dates for everyone to see her. That's why people are like, well, we're just going to bombard Lollapalooza because who knows when else I'll get to see her.
Totally. And she is still, I think, like the material reality of her life is still catching up to like what the sort of conceptual reality is, which is she's this huge, mega famous pop star. But like, I remember when like Hot to Go was coming out like a year ago, like she was doing these little teasers and these TikTok dances where it was just her and her little room in LA or whatever, and just like, you know, there's just like, that's just like the most normal quote unquote looking apartment. She's just like, I think she was just, you're so right, Ira, she was just used to that frequency in her life, and now it is jammed up all the way in all these different directions. And I think she just has to get through this this morass until she gets settled. Yeah.
Yeah, she was like happy to sort of be in this tier of like the Carly Raes and
Yeah.
you know, like the Pride Festival, like people we all love and we see constantly, but like those people aren't that then didn't have 10 singles jump to the top 10 or whatever just happened to her. This
Right.
Lollapalooza thing didn't just happen to her. So yeah, it's fascinating to see how this moment will progress for her. And of course, I honestly can't wait till the next album. I want to see how her
Yeah, me
sound
neither.
changes in the next, you know, era.
Yeah.
But she seems like she doesn't even have time to be in a studio, and that must be hard for her too as an artist. You know, like I
Totally.
don't have time to sit down and think about it. And I feel like I hope she takes a little break before that next album, because otherwise every song on the album is gonna be like Michael Jackson, "Leave Me Alone."
Video with Bubbles and the roller coaster. Yeah.
She's gonna get a Bubbles. Oh no. No, she
Who I
won't.
believe is still alive, someone told me. Anyway. moving on.
Really?
Yes.
Do monkeys live that long?
I think so. I think they're onto us.
He's just roaming Neverland.
God.
Right. Yeah, like the stage manager in our town, just like pointing. This is where the carousel was. Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask before we wrap up. You know, what's funny is you had an interview with InStyle where you were talking about last year, where you were talking about how the primaries and everything were so unpredictable in a weird way. You were like, none of these people are going to be like trucking through to SNL now. And now, completely a year later, I feel like everything has changed. Where I feel like we'd all be shocked if Kamala didn't want to do something for SNL.
Right.
You know, like, does it feel weird to be back in a political space since you started, you know, in like the end of the Trump era, and then we're in this weird Biden era, but now you're in an era where like politicians want to be fun. Like, sure, it's not
Right.
just her. Everyone's like, we want to do SNL, we want to do TV.
Yes. This is like thank you for like putting words to that, because I feel like this is something that like everybody at work, not that we're like in constant communication, but like we're sort of like realizing since whatever July. I don't know. I would like that. I think there's this like interesting sort of like return to not normalcy, but just even watching like rallies and like little DNC moments here and there. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is what it was like in 2016 and 2012 and 2000, like elections that seem like so long ago. But I feel like between Trump years and COVID, it was just like nothing. Like the rules all went out the window, and to the point of us all forgetting them, or like what the conventional things were at SNL. And now that like we're entering an election year, now that it's 50, I think like Lorne Michaels being who he is, I think he will want to like harken back to some version of what like the show's always done, which is like bring on these people. And I'm curious about like, is it not fair use, but is it like fair time rules with
right,
would
whatever
still
that-
have?
Oh yeah.
I think it means that like let's say if Kamala were to come on SNL, it would not necessarily mean that Trump would have to come on. It would just mean that like there would be some area of NBC Universal where that Republicans would also like have some designated time for, and that's all. But anyway, I have no idea. I'm
Do
excited.
Apprentice
though.
episodes count? Can you re-air
Yes!
an Apprentice rerun?
Okay, it's already the quota's already been hit. Oh my god, that's amazing. Yes, let's
Yeah,
go.
just pick an episode particularly with like Meatloaf on it or something, and then that'll be good. Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Nene calling
Nene.
someone,
Yes.
you know, a ghost. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, Latoya Jackson a ghost.
Yes, Latoya. Casper.
Boo ghost.
Yeah.
Casper. Boo ghost.
Boo ghost.
Why are you booing the ghost?
Yeah. It's never been done. It's never been done. Booing a ghost.
Never been done.
Yeah. Bowen, thank you so much as always for coming back. Can't wait to see you again on SNL in the fall, and of course, I will see you at the Emmys when we see what voter Ira has chosen for us and our faves.
Yes.
Yes, he's bringing up. He's been bringing up his Emmy nomination status, and I am reminding him that
Congratulations,
I'm an
Louis.
Emmy voter.
And you decide, because we can't vote in our own categories.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there you go. Ira has the
Which
power.
makes sense. I guess that does make sense. All right.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
sir,
Love
and
you.
I will see you soon. Love you too.
Thank you for being here. The It Ends With Us drama has reminded everyone that Ryan Reynolds isn't the only annoying person in that marriage.
Okay.
He and Blake Lively's box office reign have proved that they are, in fact, a Hollywood power couple, though. And there don't seem to be so many of those right now, since everyone else keeps getting divorced. But Louis and I are going to discuss our favorite it duos, not including ourselves.
Yes, that's true. Well, first of all, it's interesting, or I should say it's not interesting. They are indeed a power couple, but there's nothing really fascinating about Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, other than
No.
he was with Scarlett Johansson before, and before that he was with Alanis Morissette, which is, by the way, among the weirdest duos of all time. Though they're actually somewhat close in age. I think she's like 50 and he's like 45-ish or something. But anyway, I always think about that couple. She must be, I think she's into a funny guy. I think that's true. But what was it about her earthy, zen, I collect Buddha statues thing that really got him interested?
I also always wonder what it is she's doing following me on Instagram.
Alanis Morissette follows you on Instagram? I just want to be
I
clear
think I
that
brought this
I'm
up before.
Louis. You're you. If you're going to follow one of us, maybe she doesn't follow Stans.
Yeah, you know what? She has to be safe that way. But we need to get Alanis on the show and
Great
chop it
talker
up at some point.
She's sort of like, you know how Mariah can't resist an adverb when she talks? Alanis is like that in conversation. Yeah.
Getting back to Ryan and Blake, they're not people I think about. Sometimes I'll think about Ryan Reynolds, and sometimes I'll think about Blake Lively, but I am rarely thinking about them together as a couple, except for when you think about the time they got married on a plantation.
Right. Which is baffling. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, maybe you wouldn't guess it was a plantation when you were there. No, plantations look a certain way. I don't know. I feel like maybe it was evident. I don't know. Right. They don't really ignite something together for me, other than they, I guess, seem appropriate as a couple. I will say this about Blake Lively. I feel like she's getting a lot of shit for not being whatever, an Oscar-worthy actress or something. Blake Lively was in this weird movie a few years ago called All I See Is You, where she plays a blind woman. It was very... this movie must have cost $10 to make or something.
Based on the Kylie song?
Say what? I fucking wish. If we could adapt Kylie songs into movies, I'd be in a better place mentally. Blake Lively is really good in that movie. And I actually also think she is good in the confounding Age of Adeline. Where
I like her as an actress.
Yeah.
Serena van der Woodsen, she played that role beautifully.
Right.
You know, I think that you sort of were annoyed by Serena. You loved Serena. I liked her even in the movie Savages, which I think I'm one of the only people who enjoyed that film.
Well, but don't forget The Shallows, where she was the only actress on screen giving you a Robert Redford and All Is Lost type performance.
Honestly, I would say that maybe her worst tendencies in picking material or just her public persona have maybe been exacerbated with the relationship with Ryan.
Mm-hmm. That's probably true.
But they probably also just mesh because they seem to be people who are always going for a joke when there doesn't need to be one. And, I say this as two people who do that all the time.
Yeah,
but
what
this
we call
podcast is
chuckle
supposed to...
Yes.
But this podcast is supposed to be funny. Mm-hmm. As a comedy podcast. They are always making a joke in a junket or something when the situation doesn't really call for it, or you don't need to be that funny. People kept recirculating old interviews or in print or otherwise where Blake Lively kept talking about the fact that she hopes she has either daughters or a tranny as a kid because they would appreciate the clothes from Gossip Girl and all the shoes that she has. And I'm like, sure, there was a period where people were tossing that word around left and right, but it's not particularly a joke or even funny. Yeah. And the way she kept bringing it up was, well, this is really funny. Look at me using this word and being crazy. And it's maybe just be silent.
I do think, the jokes or whatever, the quotes she used there were indeed pathetic. But also the fact that they were recirculating now, not to be a dick or insensitive to that conversation, we have already relitigated how horrible using that word was. I'm sorry. Yeah. The internet for 2 years was just pulling these quotes up left and right and talking about how terrible it was. I agree it was terrible. But to now be and she was the only one saying things like that, or I just don't think it's that productive.
And no shade, it usually seems to be non-trans women who are upset.
Right. It feels a bit preemptive. But I will say this. So this interview that she did as part of a long junket day is resurfacing
I love
now,
this interview.
where she's sitting next to Parker Posey, because this is for the movie Get Ready Cafe Society. Woody Allen's best movie. Ask any critic. Cafe Society is right at the top.
I saw that movie opening day.
What was
for
wrong
some
with you?
reason?
Yeah, you were at your lowest.
What was wrong with me? I was fat, nasty, and broke. I bought a ticket to see a Woody Allen film. That was around the era too, where you were sort of like, Woody Allen, but you were also like, the movies are still maybe kind of good because you were remembering Blue Jasmine, but truly an awful film to sit through. Jesse Eisenberg has never been worse. Kristen Stewart is there.
Right. No, Jesse Eisenberg is also somebody where we're like, we tried putting him in all sorts of movies, doing like basically the one thing he does really well. And when that pops off, it pops off. And I'm talking about The Squid and the Whale, and I'm talking about The Social Network. But otherwise, not up until Fleischman Is in Trouble was it novel again.
American Ultra. Remember that garbage?
You know what? Could have hated it more. I thought Kristen Stewart was good. It's more like if it were, I don't know, a mini movie or something, it would have been cute if it were a short film, but it was unfortunately a full film directed by whatever that guy's name is, Max Landis. Anyway, so in this interview, this, I think, foreign journalist woman is sitting with Blake
She's
Lively.
British.
Oh, she's just British? Somebody said it wasn't her first language.
Oh, well, maybe not then.
Okay, anyway. She's sitting talking with Parker Posey and Blake Lively, and she says to Blake Lively, who was pregnant at the time, "Congrats on your baby bump." And Blake Lively, not skipping a beat, shoots back, "Congrats on your baby bump." Let me say something. I've done this job. I've done this kind of job for like over a decade, where you go into a junket and you're sitting with celebrities or whatever. Me, I'm not saying a damn thing about anybody's body the minute I sit down. I'm not saying here's your bump and I'm saying something about it. To me, that is fucked up. Blake's response might have been a bit jarring, but I don't know if I were her. And I'm on hour 9 of that junket, and I'm still talking about how Woody Allen, I swear, is a genius. I'm probably a little testy.
I will correct you that the actual quote is, "Congrats on your little bump."
Oh, okay. Congrats,
which makes it even
bump.
funnier to me. I like the wit of responding with that, just being a cunt.
Yeah.
But there is also the backstory of she had recently just announced her pregnancy. So you're going in, and here's a famous actress who's just announced that she's pregnant with Ryan Reynolds, her movie star man. And of course you want to be the person to kind of bring it up. I don't find anything particularly wrong with that. I think what happened is this was also during that era, that very annoying era, I'm going to point out, of ask her more. Like commenting on like, "Oh, you're pregnant," or commenting on the clothes you're wearing. And it's, okay, well, you're engaged in a business where you're being given clothes to wear on the red carpet to promote them. So of course people are going to ask about them, I don't mind it. I think it's funny, to be honest, but she was kind of being a bitch.
And then as the interview progresses, she asks, the interviewer asks, what was it like wearing the clothes in the movie? Because it's period, like old Hollywood is where it's set. And Blake immediately goes to the place of, I don't know, would a man be asked that question? And it's a bit pat answer or a cliche. We hear things like that all the time. Also kind of true, though. I don't know if it's... I don't think that interviewer came in with the most fabulous questions. And then people were saying Parker Posey was being a bitch, and I don't think she was. I think she was sitting there kind of managing the fact that Blake had already checked out of the conversation, so she kept a conversation going with her, so the journalist had something to take with her, since Blake wasn't going to be speaking to the interviewer anymore.
Okay, that is another thing I was looking it up. That's another thing I'm going to disagree with on, though, because that movie was specifically pointed out for the vintage Chanel pieces that were used in the movie. So if the movie's about these clothes, you're going to ask the actress about those clothes. I think she was just having a bad day and was just rude.
Yeah, that's probably true. I'm just saying, like, it's more like she should have been like, She could have asked a more interesting question about the clothes. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I just sort of hate that specific response of, would you ask a man about that? Because if a man were starring in a film specifically using vintage clothes and like the movie was about like the look of those clothes, you would ask a man that, you know?
And the journalist is quick to jump up and be like, yes, I would ask the same thing.
Yeah, the reason that people have been annoyed by Blake Lively this week is particularly that response. The would you ask a man this? Because that is the exact sort of response that Taylor Swift fans throw at any criticism of Taylor Swift. And it makes sense that both of them are best friends.
Yeah, they do feel like they've had the same media training or something. Yeah.
They traffic in this thing of asking them any question is sort of like anti-feminist. And when you saw people sort of talking about Blake this week and how she was promoting this domestic violence film as if it was a rom-com. I mean, we've all seen the TikTok of, ladies, grab your florals and get to the cinema, and all the other drama. I have seen nothing but Swifties online attacking people for criticizing Blake.
Oh, God. No, not the squad back up and running. Not Carly Kloss dragging people out of their homes. No.
So I think that is the thing that is sort of making people a little extra annoyed with Blake in the midst of this.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Now, we should get back into the actual reason we're having this conversation, power couples.
Yes.
I'll start. My favorite celebrity couple of all time remains Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner. I love when people who are, again, I've called them salt and pepper shakers, where two people who, it's not that they look alike, but together they're a part of a set. You know, you've got Gene Wilder, maybe the definitive kooky subversive actor of the 60s and 70s, and fabulous in everything from the producers and Blazing Saddles, and Bonnie and Clyde and Young Frankenstein. Gilda Radner, the amazing Saturday Night Live comedian whose memoir, It's Always Something, is so devastating. Together they had a moment in the 80s, and it's like they're, to me, the even better version of Rhea Perlman and Danny DeVito. Just like, oh, these two people found each other and they belong together. Another couple that's on my mind. Did you watch the Elizabeth Taylor documentary recently that just came out?
No.
It's great, and it really only follows Elizabeth Taylor through the Richard Burton marriage, and because it's about it's based on an interview she gave and sound bites she gave, so you're hearing her in VO the entire time.
Liz and Dick.
Yes, if you will, starring Lindsay Lohan and Grant Bowler. I'll tell you what. Anyway, obviously we all know about Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. They were like kind of boozy people who got into Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf like tiffs, but were also very witty, very glamorous. The couple I'm most obsessed with right now is the guy she was married to two before. This guy, Mike Todd, who produced the movie Around the World in 80 Days, which won the Oscar for Best Picture, and is actually considered one of the worst Best Pictures ever. But anyway, this guy came from the theater. When you watch interviews where they're together, this man is this kind of classic bravado guy who is not mindful of the kind of celebrity he has and sort of flippant and having fun with the press and stuff. Not demure. A word that I actually will ban from the English language starting today. It's off the table. But watching them together, he would eventually die in a plane crash a couple of years later. That's what ended their marriage. And you think like, man, maybe she would have been with him another 100 years if they had stayed together. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that we started talking about the box office success of Blake and Ryan. And of course, you brought up last week with Michelle that this is the first time a couple has had the first and second slots on the box office. And the last people to do that were Bruce Willis and Demi.
One of the fabulous couples. Gotta love Demi Moore. And also, I know we talked about this at the time, unbelievable memoir. Great memoir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she sort of describes first getting into drugs in Brazil or whatever, and it being given to her on set, I mean, I think like the vivid memories of that, it sort of like hooks you immediately into a memoir.
Just such interesting movies she made too. Like she's worked with everybody. One of those people. Anyway, what power couples are on your mind?
You know, I love B and J, obviously. What's so interesting is how they're a power couple who you always think about them together, you know. But they sort of have had this very interesting relationship where they both were very famous at one point, and then now she's sort of taken the forefront, and I think he's very happy with that.
Yes. Well, it also must be said, when I was in Fire Island, somebody put on the Carters album, which is called
great
what?
Underrated album.
What is that album called?
Everything is Love.
Everything is Love, yes. That album is so good. And we gave it like a weekend of time to take in before we completely forgot about it, I felt like. I was so pleased to hear that again.
It's like a really good sound from both of them,
Yeah.
to be honest. And I've been lately thinking about George Clooney. Yeah, I know you were talking about him last week as well with Michelle Collins. But George and Amal are such an interesting couple to me because there was, of course, that period where they got together and everyone liked to do a fun headline about how, she's the smart one and we should be talking about her. And, George Clooney is just an actor. But they do sort of have a very interesting balance of her with her political side, her legalese, and then George Clooney with his acting and sort of philanthropy. And they're both sort of larger than life people. But I do think about them as a couple often.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, like, you can't not think Warren Beatty and Annette Bening with those two, where it's just, there's something about this woman where his entire mode of being seemingly stopped. And then he became this other domestic person because of her. And if you've seen the movie Naiad, you know the kind of power she's bringing wherever she goes.
And which, to the point of last week, I sort of almost buy Quentin Tarantino's thing about George not being that much of a big star anymore, because he sort of has become the look at that woman you're with sort of relationship. And then also, some people were talking about this online. We don't really get them in the U.S., but they were like, outside the U.S., like, people know George Clooney mostly now for Nespresso commercials.
Well, I'll say this. I just found it to be a bit disingenuous of a comment because there's just not as much of a premium on having the kind of movie star who does 5 movies a year anymore. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really have like a John Wayne person anymore like Betty Davis back in the day, who would be in like 6 movies a year. And
2000s was... the year that he picked was flippant.
Yes, right. Also, again,
he could have said something more recent.
Also, literally, George Clooney has been nominated for Oscars in 6 different categories. Like, he has a record.
Yeah.
So,
you can call him a bad director, though. I don't think I like a single George Clooney film.
Yeah, I buy the director thing. I'm not running back to see Monuments Men again. I don't need the criterion of that.
What's interesting is he started out really sort of well with Confessions of a Dangerous Mind and Good Night and Good Luck, and then Big Dip, Leatherheads, Ides of March, Suburbicon.
Ides of March has good performances in it, though. It's sort of the story is a little bit of a traditional legal political thriller thing, but love Marissa Tomei in that movie as the kind of bitchy NYT reporter who will stop at nothing. My favorite category of female roles, reporters who will stop at nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense too because Ides of March was written by Beau Willimon, who did House of Cards. So there's that kind of vibe. That is another one of those. I'll give it to Ides of March. That's a film that I enjoyed because of the performances, but at the end of the film, I was sort of like, eh.
Yeah, right. It started off better than it ended, certainly. I feel like I should bring up some other power couple. Last week we were talking with Billy Magnuson about Maggie Gyllenhaal and Peter Sarsgaard. I love that vibe of 2 just determined artists who occasionally like work with A-listers or get involved in like more highbrow projects, but are very content to just be in a talky drama. Like Carrie Coon and Tracy Letts. Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
remember when we put them on the show The Sinner? What were we doing there?
Remember Jessica Biel in The Sinner?
Yep. You know what? She was good on that show. I think we gave her an Emmy nomination for it. Jessica Biel and I, both single-time Emmy nominees, and we love it together.
Yeah, I love, obviously, Tracy Letts and Carrie. I need him to come back to the theater.
Yeah, you know what? I love a writer-performer relationship. Like David E. Kelley, Michelle Pfeiffer, you know there's some magic going on there.
And yet, not magic they'll give us.
No, excuse me. And also, now Michelle Pfeiffer is in like a Yellowstone spinoff. That's not what God wants.
The fuck is she doing?
No.
The fuck is she doing?
Get off that rock in Montana. Get back to here.
I want to see her in a wacky David E. Kelley show.
Right.
Okay? This is what we're looking for.
I have not seen that woman hold a briefcase in ages. Please.
And then there's people who sort of are couples, but their partner is sort of like gave up things for them, I guess. I mean, we don't see Eva Mendes act anymore, really.
No. When I was at the Oscars earlier this year and Ryan Gosling was doing the I'm Just Ken performance, she came in and sat down, and I have to tell you, I sat there for a moment and just took her in. I was like,
Yeah,
Eva Mendes,
she's
where have you been?
gorgeous.
Now that she's
Remember
Hitch, she's not in things like Hitch anymore.
She used to be the sort of favorable Latina actress that you would put into a film with a black lead, so they wouldn't put a white woman in it to upset America. But here comes Eva Mendes starring opposite Will Smith and Denzel Washington.
Right. Okay, very good.
Maybe, I guess, one of the other big power couples is Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew Broderick.
Yes. And also, you know what I like about that? I mean, like, these are, first and foremost, theater people. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I also like how they lived kind of parallel lives. Like, they began in the theater and had the same sort of esteem about them in that space. And then they found ways to get into signature teen movies of the 80s, not just Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But if you have not seen Sarah Jessica Parker and Girls Just Want to Have Fun, love her in that movie. And you realize she was fully formed then. It is a full Carrie Bradshaw level performance then. They were in a whole bunch of other movies. And then they got back to the theater. You know, they were both in Plaza Suite together, something we simply do not need to see again. As you know, I will rail against Neil Simon whenever I get the chance.
I like Neil Simon, and I didn't even like it.
No, it's not just something I need to see.
There's something about people in the theater who tend to stay together, I feel like, more because their relationship seems to be, you know, built on this mutual love of the arts and also just sort of doing their own thing. And
Yeah.
I feel like Hollywood power couples specifically, there's just too much going on in that machine for people to stay together unless you're a little bit removed from it.
Yeah, I feel like Broadway couples, the love of a grind is a big part of it, and so there's in a way, I don't know how else to put it, an earthiness about that and those people.
Yeah. Which is why I feel like you also have political couples they're a part of a different grind. You have Barack and Michelle, for instance.
And what's
and you
going on
have,
with those two?
Yeah, you know.
I've got questions.
You wonder if he's fucking Jennifer Aniston?
I did happen to see the cover of a magazine, and I did find it to be a provocative question. Yeah.
What's funny is that's been a story that I feel like has been around for 10 years.
Yeah, right.
And it's just sort of this either insane urban legend or it's true. And I'm like, what? Because I feel like for this to be happening, there would have to be a full-scale scandal sort of affair going on because that man is always surrounded by security.
Yeah. No, I always am thinking, the minute I see this story, I'm less absorbed in the intrigue of it and more thinking, how is that even possible? How do these two people get to one location or meet furtively or get around security? Or do they have to tell security or whatever? This is the kind of thing Aaron Sorkin would write a movie about, but it's on my mind.
I'd watch it if Shonda wrote it.
Yeah, that's who it should be. That is who it should be. Yes.
Aaron, there'd be some long speeches, and I'd be like, "What are we doing here?"
I also I still give a lot of Aaron Sorkin cred for The American President, and not that isn't a lovely movie, but we have had so much more evidence that he is not as sharp anymore in his writing. So I need to let go of that.
You didn't think Molly's Game was sharp?
I was very confused about Kevin Costner showing up to that ice rink and at the end during that one scene. Yeah.
That is an all-time kooky decision in a film.
Yeah, right. Just shows up. Yeah, there's no evidence she would have been there. Anyway, it's bizarre.
I mean, all those couples are really just the Democrats. You know, we had Hillary and Bill Clinton. Hillary was out last night at the DNC to raucous applause, sporting her 90s bob. And then we have, you know, Kamala and Doug Emhoff.
Which recently we've been inundated with pictures of him looking like, if you will, a snack in the 80s. And now that's on the merch that they sell. And I guess I support that. Just by the way, I don't know if you've seen, I'm wearing a shirt that says Vote Save America. My friends here at Crooked put this on me. There's another word for it. I was ransacked. And I mean to enlist you to be a part of Vote Save America. If you want to sign up to volunteer, you can sign up at votesaveamerica.com/2024. And if you don't, why did I put on the shirt? I blame you.
I like the old photos of him. It's sort of repeating the thing that people were doing with the photos of young Joe Biden.
Right. Which I have to say, Joe Biden had movie star looks. He looked like he made a few movies with Ally McGraw.
Honestly, that is the thing about the Democrats. They look hot and sexy when they were younger. I mean, you seen those photos of young Kamala?
But, I mean, like, I'm sorry to go here. I mean, this is not my world of commentary. Have you seen Kamala recently? She looks amazing.
Yes, she looks amazing. I mean, not as good as Donald Trump.
Right. What was he even going for with that? I guess
she's a beautiful woman, Sophia Loren, and yet somehow she's ugly.
Yeah, right. No, I find that he is often in the position of having to rag on women who are exactly his type, and then pretend like he isn't objectifying them in his head. Anyway, not to get into him. But
what's so interesting about their relationship, Kamala and Doug, is that you can't do a sort of South Side with you thing like people did with Barack and Michelle. They didn't get together until later in life. So in their younger, hotter eras, Doug looking like he did and Kamala looking like she's Maureen in Rent. Okay, she's drank some Diet Coke at the coffee shop before, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
She's done the tango.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I see. With Marine on the side, I see. Got it.
Yeah, you can't really make a film about them in those ages, but I'm sure someone will try.
Yeah, no, I want it as low budget as possible. Absolutely.
Also, the thing I love about him is that he seems like more fun than Pete and Chasten.
Yes, I continue to be blown away by the fact that when he found out Kamala was running for VP, he was at a SoulCycle class in Brentwood with Queens. And then also he did some sort of political stop on Fire Island at the gay part of Fire Island Pines with Chasten. And I bless him for being able to stand outside that pantry without seeing 25 people named Colton do ketamine.
Yeah, he's loves queening out.
By the way, I love the renaissance of the phrase "queening out." Man, does that hit? My friends will be like, "Guys, want to come over and queen out to a Mary Astor movie?" And I'm like, "I'm right there, bitch. Let's go."
Is your friend Judi Dench?
Oh my God, your lips to God's ears. That would be amazing. Judi Dench, never not hilarious in interviews.
Yeah, well, I mean, you really have to ask the other star of Notes on a Scandal about Notes on a Scandal. And honestly, maybe Kate will recommend that she comes on now.
Yeah, right? I pose some legitimate journalistic chops, and they should be passed along to Judi Dench. She's always on Graham Norton. I mean, Judi Dench can barely see anymore, right? She'll probably think I am Graham Norton. Let's do it.
Yeah. Remember when Graham Norton kept insisting that we didn't know who he was?
Bitch, name one thing I don't know about, let alone you.
Like, you kids are just pretending to care about me and watch my show. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? Speaking of ketamine, how many times I've been on it watching people on your couch just crack me up?
Excuse me, I could basically lip sync the Ocean's 8 interview from memory. Watch me put it on at a black box theater.
Speaking of Ocean's 8, I guess they're a power couple. ASAP and Rihanna.
Yeah.
I like seeing them together.
It's also it's interesting though, because I also, not that I forget they're together, but I don't really see them together as much. I don't know.
Yeah. We don't really see her.
Right. I think
is the problem.
She was an entertainer. I don't know if you know this.
And now people make the joke all the time, but she's an Avon lady.
Right.
And is constantly dropping just the amount of times that this woman you'll see on Instagram and it's new lipstick line, and it's like it truly is without fail, and it's very funny to me how this woman has shifted from entertaining to just a makeup CEO.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
it's fascinating. It's fascinating in
I'm
a way
happy
that
for her, and it's just so funny. Like, she lives a life of now constant trolling. I mean, it's just you can't pretend it's she just switched careers and there's nothing weird about that. No, she's trolling her people. She's trolling us.
And honestly, I feel like it's sort of a blueprint for future celebrities because can you imagine plenty of other celebrities who probably would have done a lot better in their lives if they actually had switched to just selling makeup?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, excuse me, when Jessica Simpson happened, how did that not become half of Hollywood?
Yeah. Jessica Alba, too.
Right.
They really were just like, let's just sell some shit.
Right. And then put the word honest on it. So it makes you feel really soothing when you spend $17 on that peach tea.
All right, when we're back, it's our favorite segment, Keep It. And we are back with our favorite segment of the episode. It's Keep It. Louis, what are you keeping?
Okay, there's this clip circulating of Chappell Roan, and she posted it herself. It's not like we found this on the internet, of her complaining about the amount of people basically running up to her in the streets and demanding a picture, whatever, sort of a traditional celebrity complaint. I see a lot of people saying, if you want to be a big pop star, you have to deal with this sort of thing. I completely disagree. Keep it to exactly those people. What is the problem with people not understanding that people treat celebrities terribly? I mean, just the truth is, and I've said this before, when you go up to a random person whom you don't know and they're famous, what's going on in your head is not, I want to make their day better. It's, this is an opportunity for me. So when you're running up to that person, you're saying, I know who they are, they don't know who I am, and I'm going to correct that. That is pure selfishness. There's nothing going on there that will benefit that person's day, especially since this is probably going to happen to them 50 other times today. Now, additionally in this circus, people are dragging up a clip of Taylor Swift from what looks like Teardrops on My Guitar era, talking about how she doesn't like when people complain about being about celebrities being talked to in public. And she says, you just have to understand, like, if you're going to go shopping, it may take twice as long now or whatever. Look, it's perfectly fine that she thinks that or thought that at the time. Obviously, her fame is now 50 times the level it once was. So maybe she doesn't feel that way. But just to say that because one celebrity at one time said, I can handle the barrage of people wherever I go, does not mean it makes it any less valid for Chappell Roan to be like, I think it's fucking weird that people come up to me and invade my space all the time because they like my songs.
Yeah, and honestly, this is giving Selena, the film.
Yes.
Like the moment where she's in the clothing store and people are like, Selena's here. And then all of a sudden there's a huge crowd. The meteoric rise that this woman has had.
It's so shocking.
It's shocking, and it's just like, obviously, if it had built, there'd be a slower sort of crawl to, oh, you're seeing fans approach you, etc. And you could still go out and enjoy some fucking coffee, you know? But she's not there right now. Right now, there's so much. Right now, there's so many eyes on her that she's not Doja Cat walking on a date with Joseph Quinn. You know, Doja Cat's a huge pop star too, but she could walk and sort of be left alone. Beyonce can be sort of walk around places and be left alone because she has Julius with her, but also because we've had years of sort of knowing that you need to respect her. I think that when someone is new and shiny and you're so excited to connect with them, you lose your fucking mind. And I think it's also because Chappell was just so accessible months ago
right,
that it hasn't really clicked yet. Everyone is sort of like, I want to be the person to get the photo with her. You know?
Totally. Also, it's like, I think, additionally, you basically just said this. It's not just that she's really popular. It's also that she's the moment. So when people see her, it's like, I've got to capitalize on this fervor happening right now. You know, I always say, I like when I'm around whatever, TV stars or something, you see people approach them who just know their instinct is just to approach them because they know they're famous and it has nothing to do with any personal appreciation or something they truly can bring to that person's day. It's literally just like, oh, I'm near this magnetic entity. Allow me to magnetize myself to them. And it is deeply impersonal ultimately. So it's just like a crazy people just aren't thinking. They aren't treating these people like people. That's just the truth of it.
Especially the people who are like, aren't you that guy? Or
yes. Right.
You
Why?
don't even know. You don't even know why you're approaching them. I mean, yes. I mean, the millions of times you and I probably had to do that went out anywhere with Billy Eichner.
Oh, well, specifically, I've been around Billy Eichner where people go up to him and pretend to do his bit back at him, where they pretend to hold a mic and be like, sir, for $1. And it's like, I mean, Billy Eichner just is a different kind of person socially. Like he's not the character you see on Billy on the Street. So I think it's probably pretty jarring to him. But anyway,
He's like Chappell, to be honest.
yes, quite.
Leave him alone.
Right, a smart gay person. Yes.
Yeah. The one thing I could actually hope for her is you've seen people like Ariana Grande and Rihanna have recently followed her on Instagram, and if she seems like she's just in desperate need of a support system from people who are on her level of fame, to be honest. And I think that maybe if she befriends any sort of famous pop girls and actually gets to hang with them and get sort of advice from them, it won't be as jarring for her. But right now she's in this weird space too where she hasn't been able to go back into the studio because she has these obligations of like these tours that she's going on that were pre-planned, to be honest. And I think she sort of doesn't want to just cancel them and wants to fulfill the obligations, which makes perfect sense to me. But then you also have situations where, you know, I was just with my friends in Amsterdam recently after Ireland, and she's doing a show there that holds about 900 people.
Wow.
You know, because that was planned before she blew up, and there's like 15,000 people on the wait list for it, you know? God, and that was just not something that was in the plans for her team when they booked these venues, and you have to book these venues like a year in advance, you know?
That's interesting. I feel like I should be able to millionaire matchmaker her a celebrity counterpart she can lean on, and I'm trying to. Who is that? Who's like the weirdo? Call up. I consider her our new Cyndi Lauper. Somebody who's like who else is in the Cyndi Lauper but really famous-y community right now? Lady Gaga? Is that who it is? I don't know.
Honestly, I think Rihanna would enjoy her. To be honest.
Okay. Yes.
I mean, the way that Rihanna loves live tweeting TV, and she likes Drag Race and could name all the people from each season and shit, I think that she and Chappell would probably really fucking get along.
Okay, that's a good call.
Who do you think is going to be her first collab? Or who do you want to be her first collab? Where it's Chappell Roan featuring or her appearing on a song?
This is not going to happen, but I like when Casey Musgraves collaborates with people. Her thing she did with Miguel, where she sang Waves, I think is one of her best vocals. And I'd like to see her tap into somebody a little weirder, since Casey Musgraves' music is not weird right now.
Yeah. You hearing this rumor that Katy Perry is going to be on the Apple remix?
Why, God? Lifelines? Not a lifeline to me.
I think to Charlie, collabing with Katy Perry is like kitsch and a gag.
I suspect it could work out. It's not that I hate Katy Perry. It feels very just of the moment to be trashing her. But like obviously she has more amazing, like wonderful A+ singles than most pop artists do. So
no, Katy is a person who when she's out and being messy, you trash her and you make jokes about her. And when she's not promoting, I'm listening to the songs of hers that I enjoy.
Right. No, they're unavoidable classics, of course.
Well, speaking of people that I love, but I need to give a talking to, Beyoncé.
Oh, what is she doing?
My keeper this week goes to Sir Davis, the new whiskey brand from Beyoncé.
I want to spell this. It's SIR space DAVIS.
No, it's SIR no space DAVIS.
What the fuck is that?
Listen, it's a Japanese-inspired whiskey made in collaboration with Moët. She's a whiskey lover,
okay,
obviously, and a big Japanese lover. Her Yamazaki straight from Tokyo, as The Weeknd said on 6-inch heels. But, you know, these new collabs, you know, Sacred and Sir Davis, I get that you want your legacy to be left, but what are we doing here, girl? You want me to go out and buy some whiskey? How about I could go out and buy the Renaissance film?
That would be nice. I do have to say that speaks more to me. I don't drink anymore. Once upon a time, whiskey probably my favorite liquor. I do think it's for sophisticated people. Generally,
I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, that's another part of the keep it. She won. Yeah,
she won. You won, woman. What I actually will say that I like about Sir Davis is that
why is it called Sir Davis?
Because it's named after her paternal grandfather, Davis Hogue.
Okay, great, Beyonce.
She loves a familial connection.
Yeah. Oh,
you know?
Jesus Christ! I don't know. There's not a branch on that tree I don't know every fucking bud on.
It's like Days of Our Lives up in here. But what I will say that I like is what I like about the launch is that the website has already come with a list of cocktails that you can make with Sir Davis. So I'm excited for that. Like she when she does these brands, sort of like when she launched Sacred, doesn't seem like she's doing it half-assed. You know, it's already been receiving accolades by being a part of blind taste tests. So it's apparently good. She got me to order some honey syrup so I can make the Texas Buckin. So
I love honey in cocktails. Think it's delicious. And again, sophisticated.
Are you a mocktail drinker?
I am now. I feel like mocktails literally in the past 2 years have gotten pretty good. It's not something I sought out before. I will always just get a club soda with a splash of cran. Splash of Cran would be a wonderful 9th place Drag Race contestant. This is a joke my own friends have made. But I like a mocktail, sure. It bothers me when they're like $14 like any other drink, but yeah.
Yeah. I do enjoy a mocktail, actually. I feel like they're fun, especially when you're at a dinner or something and the mocktails on a menu seem like they're expertly made by the bartender. Sometimes I'll switch from a drink to a mocktail just for like one course or something.
Yeah, I mean, like, the look of a drink itself is kind of a vibe. Just to have something that's a particular color at the table is nice, you know, regardless of how it even tastes, even though they're usually good.
Yeah. All right. Keep it to Beyoncé because once again, you got me to open up my purse.
And also, of course, because she's a big loser. What a dork. This is a dweeb.
She said, "Stop coming up to me and giving me hugs." I'm kidding. But Beyonce should hang out with Chappell Roan. Actually, Lynn Chappell Julius for a week, and I bet you not a single person will try and get a photo with her again.
Yeah, no kid. Exactly. You are exactly correct.
Yeah. All right, that's our show. So thank you to Bowen for joining us, and we will see you next week.